Okay, here we are set up with El Gran well, not quite set up, El Gran Capitan for the fight for the Kingdom of Naples. This is sort of the big scenario, the big historical scenario. There's another big scenario, which is the Crusade of Charles VIII. I assume it's big. I don't know, it doesn't look that big. This one lasts, oddly, almost 2 years, I guess. It starts on June 2nd, 1502. It ends on January 2, 1504, a turn which doesn't exist. I don't know what's desired there. I don't know what the typo is. If I feel particularly energetic, I may ask, should I just end in January, or is that a typo meant to be like June 2nd or February 2nd? What's up? I'm guessing it's January, but it's a little weird because it leaves you with a winter campaign as sort of your chance to finish the game off. The reason it's not totally set up is there's a lot of flexibility in the setup, and I'll touch on that briefly. This is after the last scenario. The King of Naples ends up dying. France and Spain come to an agreement and they split the kingdom, with Spain getting the southern half and France getting the northern half, and there being a couple of uncontrolled spaces. Oddly, the Venetians own a few ports, and those remain Venetian no matter what. They'll support the Spaniards, but neither side can attack or control them or anything. There should be an option to do so, but it would bring like a Venetian army into play. Anyway, that's a special rule. So, in order to win this scenario, first of all, if no state in the Kingdom of Naples is aligned to the enemy side at some point in the game, you win a strategic victory. Cool. Otherwise, the scenario goes out to the end of the game, and you count the number of aligned and not aligned states. Well, the number of aligned states you have and not aligned states where you have a friendly force and there are no enemy forces. Those are going to be your victory spaces. And we've got a little rubric here where the French kind of win if it's sort of a draw. However, between -2 and 0 advantage for the Spanish. If the Spanish have more than 2, they get a marginal victory. They have to get up to 5 additional spaces to get the standard victory. Oddly enough, on the strange result of a 1, the Spanish have a little bit of an advantage. Owning Naples boosts you to a standard victory, which means the French could maybe want to give up a space if they own Naples in order to increase from a marginal victory to a standard victory. That feels weird and wrong. My feeling there is, if the French have their marginal victory conditions and also have Naples, they should get a standard victory as well, just to be fair. Okay. And likewise with the Spanish, right? If they have a marginal victory and have Naples as well, it should be boosted to a standard victory. It just, otherwise, you got some weird gamey shit that I can't see an argument in favor of. Okay. But no big deal either way. APs at the start, the French have 7, Spanish have 3. They get a generation of points. You can see the Spanish have like a die roll that they may get a nominal point, which might count. This is to represent Cordoba's unwillingness to fight early in the campaign. For supply sources, the French can choose between Rome and any port in Terra di Livorno or Principato Citra. I think I'm going to make my decision now. I see no reason not to do it in Salerno. Since the focus of the fight is going to be towards the south, I want to be as far south as I can, but it's by province, so there's no reason for me to, like, in fact, there's strong reason not to take this, because there's no road, so it can't supply shit. Okay. The Spanish supply sort has a harder choice, any port on the Adriatic, Taranto, or Reggio. Now, the sea zones are not well defined as far as I can tell. Maybe it says in the thing, but I suspect this line and this line divide the sea. Well, this really doesn't make sense that, like, Taranto would be part of the Adriatic. That feels weird, but whatever. If that's indeed what that line is supposed to represent. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Otherwise, you know, we've got this Tyrrhenian Sea, Ionian Sea, Adriatic Sea, and then we've got the Mediterranean here. I think this is contested and no... See, there's no line here. That's the problem. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. This is something I may have just ignored as I was playing. No. Unless they say here. Yeah, they don't talk about what the seas are. So there's sort of this, well, is the Ionian Sea coming down to about here, or does it extend into the Mediterranean? The area that looks like, if we did use these dividing lines, it's the Mediterranean. I don't know. I don't know what's intended there. But that becomes of importance because there is naval movement rules that are dependent upon those, as well as the setup. So, yeah, any port on the Adriatic Sea, okay. Taranto or Reggio, that gets me key locations there. That's where the Spanish can draw their supply. And I kind of have to decide on their setup before I decide where their supply source is. Unlike the French, it's not obvious. The French always have a supply source back in Rome. You know, I don't think the Spaniards are going to get that far. So the French army is this entire force here, and somewhere it says the French has the option to create one or many forces and deploy them within the territory. They're allowed to put them in Terra del Livorno, Abruzzo Citra, Abruzzo Ultra, Principato Citra, Principato Ultra, which is ranging along the coast here. We can go up to Ultra here, and that's it. Oh no, and the coast over here. Okay? Now, there's some uncontrolled areas here, and I probably want to get those under my control. Let's keep looking. Then they additionally have some baronial forces, and you'll see they have some baronial forces in territory that is, these as well, that is Spanish. I guess that's representing discontent with the Spanish rule or something along that line. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be anything like that with the French rule, which is kind of weird. And we have a substitute allowing us to gather all our Swiss into one big piece. For the Spanish, they have Cordoba, who again can be created in multiple forces. and can deploy in, let's see, Bari or Otranto over here. So I probably want to put that supply source in Toronto, but it's not that easy because in Calabria, I am allowed to have, I set up Captain Pinero over here. Now he's got a small force. I probably don't want him, you know, I want to have, I want to have the supply source running out of the area where the Gran Capitan is. We have some substitutes as well available. Again, conglomerations of forces. No breakdowns here. Now I've got a bunch of reinforcements on the chart. I put all the reinforcements up until this month of the next year. But then I've got a couple of these. And this is why it's really weird. 1504 January 2, obviously a non-existent turn, but also it's like, do you really need, did we really need to go into 1504 if we're just doing January? It seems weird, but maybe there was, you know, a battle late in January, and I don't know. I'm really iffy about that. We have a bunch of reinforcements coming in, largely coming into territory that either you controlled at the beginning, or sometimes like this, some Swiss infantry appear with the Capitano Generale, or inside a city of a French-aligned state occupied by a French force. One problem with this scenario is the French have two minor generals, and they do not have, they're both aligned for reinforcements, which kind of means I don't have minors that I could throw on the board easily. There is this weird counter that is marked as French minor general. It's in the pile of generals there. That is neither minor A nor B. And I do have like an extra card, a blank card here, that's not used in this scenario. Maybe I should like be able to create a minor general. I don't think so, but I don't know. Or maybe just before both of those have come in, I'm able to kind of fake one. All right, none of that's in special rules. In the special rules, first turn, there's no administrative segment, which is the period where you get points and whatnot. It's a point, it's not even a point gaining turn. So, well, you wouldn't get additional barons, you wouldn't get to assign things. What's kind of odd is at the beginning of the game you start with administrative points, or you start with orders. In the organization segment you would be able to change them, but you don't want to do that. You want to keep your points in the bank. So choose your, you know, most of these forces get to pick whatever orders they like. Movement of Capitani by sea. If a force composed of at most one combat unit, not strength point, is in a port hex, it can be activated, including an unemployed Capitano, but not a Baron, to move by sea to another eligible port hex free of enemy units. French can freely move from and to any port in the Tyrrhenian Sea. Again, that's not very much if this line is correct. And would you call all of this the Tyrrhenian Sea? I mean, yeah, kinda. But why have the Mediterranean marked separately as that, if so? So I'm kind of feeling like they want to devote us to just moving back there. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Spanish forces can freely move to and from any port in the Ionian and or Adriatic Sea. Okay, now There's no line for the Ionian. In a way, if you were going to say anything, you would say it swings all the way up here. Again, I think I'm going to put a line at Reggio. And I'm going to say neither side can actually do naval moves in the Mediterranean because it's too contested or something like that. That's just me making shit up. Earthworks. Last scenario, earthworks basically didn't exist. You needed them for sieges, and you needed them to go into quarters, but you couldn't get any defensive bonus. This scenario, the French can't use them, just like in the previous scenario, but the Spaniards can. And this is to indicate some of Cordoba's improvements in the army. He's got another big one, which is that he's got a lot of units that have his infantry basically have firearms for the most part. The French will start deploying firearm infantry as reinforcements, but they don't have any at the beginning of the game. Realignment of, I gotta swap batteries, but realignment of states of the Kingdom of Naples. Each state of the Kingdom of Naples has a dominance factor, that's this number here. The alignment of the state switches when to a side who owns a number of fortresses, which allows them to match or exceed the dominance factor, so you don't have to take everything anymore. Count 2 points for each fortified city and 1 for each fortified town. This is going to be kind of a pain in the ass to keep track of. I may have to pull out some number counters or whatnot to try to deal with this, because otherwise I'm going to be counting all over the fucking place. The alignment status changes to the controlling player. Adjust the conquered marker, who will be able to deploy available Baron units into the state during eligible turns. Barons on the map stay the way they are or remain non-aligned if they are. I got to swap. I'm almost done, but I also have some chatter I want to make. The first things I noted with this scenario, one of my Bayard is present on the French side. He was sort of the greatest knight of Europe, basically. He's one of their commanders. And that's important because it leads to this next one, the disvita. When a force including heavy cav is occupying a fortress and is within 2 hexes of an enemy heavy cav, either side can declare disvita. Now, you're not aware of what the enemy has, so you got to kind of say, can I declare it? And they can say yes or no. At the end of an activation, it's declared at the end of the activation of the force. Neither force can have attack orders. They reveal if any force within 2 hexes of the declaring force is eligible. If more than one is eligible, the declaring force chooses the enemy unit. If the enemy side refuses the disvita, the declaring player gains an AP, and the challenge player has to do a discipline check. Otherwise, both players roll a die with a +1 for the declaring player. Both players also add the quality of their unit to the die roll result. If the modified die results are equal, the disvita ends with no result. The player with the highest result is the winner. They will gain 3 APs, and the losing force has to do a discipline check with a +1 modifier. Furthermore, you permanently grant a +1 to the winner and a -1 to the loser of the disvita towards the total number of owned fortresses where it takes place with respect to Special Rule 4. This is kind of weird. I would assume that refusing it would have the harsher consequences. Feels like you really don't want to lose this sucker. And the challenger has the advantage, which is kind of crappy. The French heavy cav have a 3 quality. I don't know if I see any Spanish heavy cav on the board. That's Italian. It has a 3 quality. Yeah. Okay. So by refusing the challenge, you don't. I don't know. I guess I'm used to things like Albion, where the noble challenge. If you don't take it, it's a really bad effect on you, but if you do take it, you might lose a major character, is kind of the crappy thing. Here, I don't know. It may make sense either way. You know, this may make sense for the situation. No more than one of these can be declared per turn for both sides together. The Venetian ports, there are 3 of them out there. Boop, boop, boop. And like I said, forces of both sides can enter but never stop or change control of those hexes. The Spanish can use these as supply source. Terra del Bari has a dominance factor of 7. You can see it says 7 or 8. I think that's because of the Venetian port, to tell you the truth. Here they just tell you what the region's alignments are. It's probably raid time. Kind of hungry. I had an egg, but the day was a little grayer, more overcast than the last few days. However, I did make it out to saw some wood. Again, you know, not a hell of a lot of time, and my body starts getting tired and giving out. Worse than that, my chainsaw kind of said, I'm not really happy right now. I don't know if I need to add oil or if there's something else that was going on, but that's all, you know, it like gives this little beep, beep, beep and won't work. I'm like, okay. I noticed some of the little blades on the chain itself are bent more than they should be. So I don't know. I may need to like replace the chain or something, which is not something I want to do, to be honest. But anyway, I tried to do what I can. But on top of that, the battery gets stuck sometimes. And I couldn't pull the battery out. And I kind of suspected this was going to happen when I put the battery in. It clicked in funny. It's just really annoying. The battery release is usually pretty good on most of their tools. For some reason, the chainsaw has sort of a heavier structure there, and like it just, I can't always make it release. You know, I can push the button, nothing's happening, and then I can't pull the battery out. So I may be stymied for a while. Given that this is, I assume, Thursday, I will not be cutting wood tomorrow no matter what the weather is like, because I don't want to wear my body out that much before going dancing. It kind of hurts my back and my ankle too. I don't know why. It's just my ankle's fucked up again. Like it's been fucked up for years, but like since before the pandemic. But like right before. But it's at one of its bad points. And I don't know, standing out there in work boots on kind of a slope, maybe not a big slope, it's not like my hill or whatever, but it just bothers me every time I go dancing. It bothers me. All right, we're gonna break for a while. The process of setting up, first thing I had to do is I had to look up the non-aligned bearings, and they get supposedly set up randomly, but the ordering to the locations that they get set up, they go into cities first, and so the 2 that are present were fixed. There's not going to be additional non-aligned bearings added due to reinforcement processes or anything like that. The next thing I did is I'm starting to set up, or I've completed setting up the French bearings. Now the French have to set up first, and most of them, you know, are within their own territory. Although not up there. Guess those come in later. Actually, no, most of them are actually within enemy territory. Some of them are in fixed locations Some of them, however, have decided, I hope not illegally, where to put them. Let's take a look. Cantasana and Opido. Those are fixed. I'm gonna make sure because I know that there was something where it's like you can put it in one of three or something along those lines. And I think that's got to be, yeah, that's a Spanish one from there. Which means I'm kind of free to place them in body and Otranto. And I chose to take the cities, notably of Taranto, which is a possible supply source for the Spaniards. That denies them that capability. And then kind of iffy choice. There are advantages to being in a city, which is that it's affecting terrain. But there's also a disadvantage, which is that these are along the roads and therefore a little easier to hit. Like I could have put him in an out-of-the-way position, but in an out-of-the-way position, he doesn't do much to like interfere with the Spanish advances. And now I've got to make the decision of Namur's force, which has to be broken up. And I basically see two places, two things. Principata dos Chitra and Ultra, controlling these roads looks important. So I think I want one force in each road. But I also want some kind of force up here in Abruzzo to capture additional areas. I counted up the amount of territories that each player controls, and it is exactly even, which for victory conditions would be a French marginal victory if we can hold this position. With the rules that I have, or that I'm adopting, holding Naples would bring that to a standard victory for, whatever difference there is. Like, I don't like to look at victory as a binary thing. So I like when games give me those differentials. But I don't know how much it really matters. Like, do I see the difference between, like, I see it as about equal to be driven from a marginal victory to a marginal defeat as from a marginal victory to a standard victory or whatever. If there's three layers, I give them equal weight so that if I'm trying to balance things out. But on the other hand, yeah, there's a little bit towards the binary choice of, I want to make sure I win, but if like the odds are slightly better that I'll get to the standard victory by taking an action than that I'll get to a minor defeat, I'll go for the standard victory. I'll go for the more improved victory but if the odds are equal, I will favor that binary choice. I had the French into three forces. Allegre up here. And most of the French leaders are equally good. My Capitano, my Primo Capitino, or no, my Gran Capitino. Namur has higher rank and not a great initiative. Everyone else has like 3/3 values, except for Albini, who is my second ranked leader. I put Albini here with the best forces. I don't know if I should give him the artillery. You know what? I'm gonna give Namur the artillery and the siege guns. Much as I like the idea of sieging, this is fast. Spaniards are not allowed to put anything in Basilicata. And because I have the Swiss Guard there, I'm going to have a better movement rate. So I'll do that. Namur is going to have the larger force. I don't don't know whether or not I'm going to need to attack. So I'm going to give him attack orders, because I don't know where the Spaniards are placed. And I've got La Police with him. I've got Bayard up here, because he's the dangerous one. He has chivalric, which is not a good thing, and impetuous, which definitely isn't. Chivalric means he has to have a cav with him if he's put in charge of a force. He's actually with a force that doesn't have a cav, so it may not even work to have him up there. He does not outrank La Police, so I may just put him down with no more. Let's take a look at this. Chivalric, the captain is a chivalrous hero. Once per battle, he can convert an F on the disciplines table in a P result for one combat unit. Now that's cool, right? But he can never attack an enemy force with a retreat order, which is not as cool. If I can get a victory, I would like to be able to follow it up with not just a pursuit, but then with additional attacks. It doesn't seem to be like that easy in this system. So maybe overall it's a good option. The impetuous, though, as a subordinate or in a dropped-off force, if a Capitano has impetuosity, the force must include at least one SP if any of them are available of cavalry. Well, none of them are available up here, so that's kind of cool. A force containing a leader with I must do at least one charge during a major battle. That's not necessarily bad if cavalry units are present, and the Commandino must command at least one of them. He must select. I don't know if he's a bad choice. I'm going to put him down here as well. I don't know. I don't need one in each. I'll put it like this. Yeah, I'm becoming convinced that the impetuous is not that horrible. You kind of want to do charges if you have cav, I think. So we will use the Grand Knight. We'll go on to the Spaniards. They do have some restrictions on their barons, and then their actual forces. I think they're allowed to set up Pinheiro or whatever in Calabria, Citra. My decision making for the Spanish. Let me go over it. How am I allowed to set these up? How are they worded? Yeah, I can actually select these together. And put Paredes up here with an attack order. Okay. Okay, so I decided to put Cordoba with the main force and a couple of subordinate, unemployed leaders. Had to look up the word. Up here, because I think my main goal is to connect my two territories, and right now I'm blocked by this. That's also going to put me in a potential collision course with one or both of these forces. So that doesn't seem like a terrible idea. Pinheiro had to start over in the Calabrias. I put him over here. He isn't going to be in supply. So I want to make sure to do something of some value with him. I have an attack order. I could have set him up to hit this right away. But again, I'm moving Colonna in that direction because it's too important. So Pinheiro is going to be in charge of kind of clearing out the back areas and possibly subordinating himself to Cordoba so that I have a concentrated force. Prospero Colonna has half the Spanish infantry. I'm not sure if I would have been allowed to play with breakdown units. I've got him placed here, and he can be sort of a follow-up to come up behind behind Cordoba. And Paredes has a couple of the barrens over here to try to take things up here. I chose to put my supply source in Brindisi, which makes some sense. I could have put it in Body, but here's the problem. The roads go north-south out of Body. Yeah, it's not that bad. There's this road. But most of the roads go north-south out of Body, which means that if I wanted, what I was looking at was if I wanted to supply here, I would have to actually swing into there, but I don't actually. So I think in order to not have to do my supplies as often, I'm going to put it here. This is some danger. It is possible that Body could get cut off, but I'm going to keep my supplies there because that gets me a little closer to the northern side of the map that I need to advance into, and I don't really want to have to reposition my supply many times. I thought Otranto was a good place for it, but it kind of isn't. Okay. I think that means we're set up to play and ready to actually start the game. We do not do the administrative segment, so it'll be over here on the organizational segment. If you're this is a note that I thought might be important. If you're looking for a really, really detailed, like blow-by-blow play of the game, probably the first video of Ferrandino's War is a better choice for that. Although I'm struggling with the system in that, I do at least show kind of all the actions in the first couple turns. I showed just about everything in the very first scenario, the Otranto relief from the Muslims, but basically 3/4 of the rules don't get used in that. It's really just to kind of get you used to some of the mechanisms of the system, although it's not a bad place to look at that. And I was more comfortable with the rules there because there were less of them. All right, it is time for me to play Raid. I don't know. I expect that I'll get some of this played. Probably not tonight, but tomorrow's Friday, so I expect I'll get a little bit of this in play before I go dancing. Okay, someone who knows the game has been watching and giving me notes every now and then. And here's one that I've totally forgotten about. I don't think it had a hell of a lot of effect, but it is during the command phase, each player can issue orders to a number of allied Baron forces up to the number of friendly Capitani already on the map, with a minimum of 2 Baron forces, whatever is in play at the time. Unemployeds, whatever, count 2. So that resolves a problem that I was having, which was not enough activity markers and not enough orders to cover all the different Capitani. In effect, I was giving most of them stand orders, which might as well, or garrison, which might as well be no order at all. They weren't doing much, but they could dig in with earthworks if needed, stuff like that. So, I don't know. But the biggest thing was the pulsing between them and everything was kind of cumbersome. It was an annoyance. There should only be a small number of them actually doing anything. So if we looked here, the French would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orders they could give. Most turns for movement and whatnot, that's all I needed. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the Spaniards here would be able to move. Again, that's more than I was moving most turns, But there were times when I had floods of them going. It was also pointed out that I'm not really using road movement, and that's true. I don't like I don't have a problem with that. I know of the rule. It just sort of passes by my mind when I'm trying to do movements. And for the most part, most of my movement, I guess with some of the barons, they could have used it. Most of my movement has been, I don't really want to go all that far before I hit another unit. Anyway, that's some notes on the last playthrough that I had for sure. All right, it is a beautiful Sunday. It was a beautiful Saturday. I drank way too much, and then found out that brown Schweiger on top of too much alcohol was not a good choice. And I've been sleeping, until nearly raid time, and I don't really feel like playing right now, but I don't know what to do with myself. I feel okay, I just don't, when I first wake up, I don't want to play. Looks like I haven't put everybody on the board. Guess I'll put them on. All right. Let's start the fight for the Kingdom of Naples. It's a pretty day. I tried to convince myself to go out and cut wood, but my gut is saying I don't really feel up to it. I did manage to get my battery situation fixed. Anyway, let us start. Let me take a quick look at the first turn. The administrative isn't effective. Okay. And we're trying to collect territory. I got to remember about the barons, how to deal with them. I actually kind of like how I dealt with them in the prior game better, which is to say I wasn't moving more of them than I would have under the actual rules, but they were able to quarter for the winter without dying. And I'm kind of worried that, like, I'm going to have to plan too much as I get close to winter, throwing barons into quarters, activating ones that I don't want to move and stuff like that have done nothing all game. So, I'm probably going to rotate. This is going to require me to basically move more than I would move every turn, just in order to throw earthworks down everywhere so that they can go into quarters, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not everywhere, but I do have to activate them to put them into quarters. Yeah, it just feels like it's going to be an annoyance to do it that way. And I may go with some kind of compromise and just say, look, if I've got them rotated this way so that I'm not paying attention to them, they're in quarters if they need to be, kind of. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cheating, but I do not know what the weather is. So that's a good start. I also don't know what turn it is. It is June. We got fair weather. Cool. And we get to skip the administrative phase. Which means I would have another chance to commit orders, but I don't really want to do that. So let's start moving some barons. Already running into a problem. Started looking through the scenario instructions. I can't find a first player being defined. And over here, somewhere they say the first player in each scenario will be designated in the scenario instructions. This is actually the case for all of them. Now, maybe I saw somewhere. So in the first one, the allies are listed first. Oh, wait, barons. First player who always deploys first. Okay, so that should be towards the end, I guess. There we go. Aragonese. Yeah, I thought I had read it, but it's like, it's in the First player French. Okay. It's in the last possible place. Now, I deployed the French first because they showed up first in the thing. But yeah, it's kind of obnoxious that that's the last thing in the order. But now that I know it, it'll work okay. Other than one sort of oops where I picked Prospero Colonna to move, to be my champion for the die rolls. The Spanish have run the table with the French. And I don't feel like this was necessarily a mistake, getting him to move. I kind of don't mind him having to move, but he could have been deprived of movement points. He's under a siege, or under earthworks now. The other French moving forward, capturing some territory in the Spanish territories. The French are in a position where they can be more, where they're positioned to be more aggressive and possibly take Spanish territory, but also they've got a couple of neutral areas near them. So they're kind of on the offensive, I guess. But now the Spaniards get to run the table. Everybody's moved. Now you see the action markers on there. I put the battles down as well, move them into position, and get people onto the battle chart in a moment. But, yeah. It's taking a little while to kind of, get into the flow at all. Both battles down here near the heel, Spanish trying to take things. Other forces stymied by the slow movement. Sometimes it may be better just to say, screw it, I'm going to move my piece. I get a good move off of it. But it feels so advantageous to screw your enemy out of a move. That kind of mindset may be part of what happened in the Ferrandino's War, which was that the French were just trying to delay the Allied armies from being able to do anything, so they were able to force them to take bad rolls all over the place and not be able to move as much as they want to. And I think it was a good strategy for that. I'm hoping this one is a little bit more fluid, because we really got to this one, I think somebody has a chance of winning no matter what, because it starts out kind of close, right? In Ferrandino's War, the Spanish had a lot, or the Allies had a lot they had to do. And this is not a system in which you can do a lot. Anyway, I'll move it. Well, let's remove this. I'll remove all of them, but put a battle marker down, set myself up. We're in earthworks, we're not. You know the drill if you've seen the previous scenario, and I really don't know why you're here if you didn't. Honestly, I mean, very few people will be here anyway. So, in both cases, I have a leader. Let's take a look at, who is this? Paredes, who has garbage. He is not going to want to storm that, because he's got a 2-to-1 advantage, which gives him a 1-column or a 1-point die roll modifier. He doesn't have any bonus stars or anything like that. The weather's fine, but basically, quality, I would be at a -1 non-affecting, I think. No, affecting quality. And I would only get a success on a 6, and I would take some losses. So here we're going to establish our siege. And why are we taking things off the board and then putting them back? Yeah, I think we're going to walk away from that habit to some extent. But let's look at this other one. Colonna, does he have more troops? He does. He has 6 troops. Over here, Taranto is again a city. 6-to-2 gets me to the 4-to-1, so I have a +2. And quality-wise, I have a 2, which drops to a 1, and I'm facing a 0. So I would be a +1 quality A +2 on the die roll. See, what confuses me is these browns, man. That's where I get fucked up. Because the brown switches from one side to the other, and I may have screwed up before. So in this case, with a +2 to the die roll, I would need a 3 or higher to have a success. +2 can't hit there. I got two results that a 1 or a 2, I take a loss and he doesn't. And that would have to be off of one of my kind of decent units. Do I want to just storm that? Attrition-wise, I'm going to force him into attrition if I put it under siege. That gives me a 1 in 6 chance every turn of taking the area. Part of my problem in this game has been, or in the Ferrandino's War, has been not being able to do enough. But on the other hand, the fight, I don't want to lose troops. But I think I'm going to go for this one. So, what did I say I was at? I was at a +1 on the affecting, at +2 on the die roll. And I get lucky, I get the 5, so I kill this, which is an Otranto. I own Otranto, so I'm going to put it this way just to remind me. We stormed. That meant we were disordered. That's why we were down to a 1 quality. But the Otranto nobles suck. There's no reason for me not to keep the earthworks. And I think the only remaining thing is the attrition. This is a siege in which, I don't know if the French are cut off. They can make it to this road. They can make it back. No, I own this. Okay. So we look for the attrition table, but we know what it is. Only on a 6 do we have a problem. Oh, yeah, no. I was thinking, wait a minute, did I do Cordoba? Because he has lots of special abilities. We do get a 6. So we successfully took body as well. Again, I'm going to keep the earthworks. Body is mine. That goes over. Nothing's going to change control. Presumably I had enough points to control the area already. Although I'm not really sure, because if I look at Terra di Bari, that's a 7 or an 8. What do I actually control? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave this alone for now. 6, 7. And this one, I have this one too. Okay. 8, 9, sure. Yeah, because you can't control the Venetian ones. I think it's pretty hard to actually take body. And I don't know if things fall out of control. What were the control rules for this one? The alignment of a state switches to one side when that side owns a number of fortresses which allows it to match or exceed the dominance. Yeah, I don't think, like, if you take dominance away from someone, but you don't get it, which I don't think is possible in most areas. I think they're at the 50% level or something, like the above 50%. I don't know. I'm looking at Molise here, and that has 1, 2, 3, and that's it. And 2 of them give you control. I could look at, analyze most of them, but body has important areas being held by the, oh no, it only has this one. It only has 1 point held by the, but still, I was at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's just over half if you count everything. But if it was 11, you would only need 6. So it's like, well, what are we at? Again, I don't know. Let's take a look at this one, which isn't fucked up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it is fucked up, actually. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 7, like I'm looking at the base number that they give there. 7 out of 16 is not half, right? But 7 out of 12 is one above half. So I don't know. All right, what am I at? I'm at a new turn. I've babbled long enough. I'm going to go down and record that I'm starting to play this. Take a little break. Didn't do much, but like I said, I'm, trying to get into the flow of the play. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of cutting wood, because again, my tummy is bugging me. But I've got some crap on my porch. I can sweep that up. That'll give me, something to do outside that'll kind of count. Oh, a couple of things that showed up. One of them in the CSW forums, and one of them on the Board Game Geek forum. And they're not in both. And there's no errata to handle this kind of stuff. But first of all, I went out, I swept my deck, right? It's night now. I haven't been out there this whole time. I've been playing Raid most of it. And I had left it there long enough, like just the crap from the storm and whatnot, that it kind of started sticking to the deck and kind of froze. And boy, was it hard to try to clean it. And I still haven't gotten everything off. I'm hoping tomorrow things will warm up. But it was a lot more work than I expected. Like, I ended up expending about as much energy, not hurting myself as much because not leaning over in the same sort of way as when cutting wood. Anyway, let's take a look at 2 things. One is, this is on BGG. January is the end of this scenario, or the last turn of this scenario. So that's all fine. There's no January 2. It's a minor errata. The only question I had was, geez, did we really need to go into another year, for so little? Well, there was a battle in December, so yeah, but it feels kind of kludgy. I kind of wish it went further than that, but whatever. Okay, but the other one has to do with these damn markers. So the attack and maneuver markers say initiative -1. Retreat says initiative +1. Garrison says initiative, okay, that's an equal sign. You can't see it, but that's an equal sign there. Equals 0. I assumed it was just another, -0 or whatever. And stand is initiative equals 0, which if my eyes were better, or I had known to look for it. Now, this is what somebody was trying to get through to me, was that there is no initiative modifier for the attack and maneuver orders. Now, in the rules, if you didn't have those counters at all, it would be relatively clear, right? Modifiers to initiative. It says this, orders. Some orders may apply an initiative order. See paragraph 8.25 and the orders table. Well, the orders table does not have those modifiers. They have initiative equals 0 and initiative modifier plus 1. Now, they do say some modify your initiative. Okay. And then second activation here is the other. An initiative in the same hex is modified. I forgot to take that into account at all. But on the other hand, yeah, whatever. It certainly screwed up Ferrandino's attacks in the last scenario. And perhaps his whole game. In addition, all the units were moving one slower every fucking time because of those damn counters. But anyway, 8.25, influence order of activation. Garrison or stand may be activated only one time and has initiative temporarily reduced to 0. Retreat has initiative temporarily increased by +1. We actually don't have the -1 here, which is the second activation thing, but okay. And then, you know, here it's clear as well, but the counters just completely had me thrown off. And I have a tendency to skim rolls, and then if I have like a counter that reminds me or whatever, maybe not look as closely as I would think. So I probably looked at this, saw the initiative -1, and wanted to know what was up with that. Looked, saw orders, some orders are modified to initiative, and just said, okay, that's fine. With these rules, apparently that's not safe. But yeah, this is what somebody was trying to get through to me, which is that counter is just bullshit. That's like to remind you if you take a second activation, you need, like, it says here 2 activation initiative -1. It actually kind of says it, but it's like a confusion thing. I gotta go pour my tea. So maybe we'll see a more lively campaign this time. I'm gonna leave that first turn the way it was. Everybody moved one less than they should. It turns out that this is a complex turn, one with command points and barons coming in. What are our command points again? I'm tired. I napped a little bit, but not enough. Okay. Oh, here. Yeah, so February to July, we're looking at 3 notional points for each army. I rolled up the weather. It came out fair. The notional points, we have to look at, I'll just do this again once in this game. Okay, so our commander-in-chief is 1 away. Actually, he's 2 away, I think. You got to go through 2 provinces. So he is 2 away from his headquarters. This is not what he wanted, is it? But I didn't want to have to move it, and that's part of it. Okay, 2 away from his headquarters in normal weather, so no shifts for that. So he gets a 4, which actually doesn't modify him. He gets the full 3 points for the Spaniards. And the French, where is their supply source? In Salerno, I'm guessing. I gotta try to find my province line. I am just 2 away. I moved just in there. It's the same situation. He gets a 7, which is not as good. That gives him 2. Okay. We get no sheep. We get new barons. It feels so weird to be getting new barons on, essentially the second turn of the game. Like, I don't know why. I mean, it happens every other turn, but use these in a couple of places to put some roadblocks in the way of the French advance. Slow them down even more. I don't want to change supply sources. The cost for that is too painful. Which means I get to decide which Capitani I want to. No. That's if I want to break off a minor Capitani. And transfer stuff. So all orders get swept away. I have to buy new orders, and I have to decide on orders for the barons. For the most part, I think, I've got the ones face up that I want face up. This does put me in a position where I can't just sweep all my barons down to the south to fight down there, like with the French. I don't think that had a lot of effect on the last scenario where there was a lot going on everywhere, but I only can have 5 barons active. Shit. I had attack orders on some of these people, and I swept them off where I shouldn't have. So, Pinheiro had one, I think. Paredes certainly did up here. And that one's fine, because I got there and took it. Colonna, I think, must have. And then on the French side, let me see. I took this, but there wasn't anything there. So he may be fine. I don't believe I had battles on anybody down here, but I think Namor had one. So I'm pretty sure there was an attack order over here somewhere. All right. I'm just making a guess. I mean, I could go back and look at the camera, but I don't feel like it. I feel like I fucked up enough already with everybody moving one too slow in the whole last scenario and in this one already in one turn. That, like, whatever. Quick example, Namur took a maneuver order that costs 2. And Aubigny and Allegre, one took an attack, one took a maneuver. Those are 1 each for secondary forces. So it cost me 4 of my action points to set myself up. This guy cannot go into attack order, so he's really stymied by this. I don't think he had one, though. I think he was facing... let me do it this way instead. Now, it's because I know there was one over here. But he didn't attack. Yeah, I don't know. Which means Namor had to pay 1 more to get his activity. But he's now got an attack order, because there was nothing in the way here. This, I think... Oh, there was nothing in the way here either. Fuck. I don't know. Let's just give them both attack orders. I don't know. Because I really don't think there was anything in either of their way. And whatever. Again, I don't want to go fucking look back. I haven't done the Spaniards yet. But Cordoba is going to need an attack order. He's got... Part of the problem is the scenario starts with a 1-turn orders phase, which is what screwed things up. Like, maybe I had different orders on units because I was expecting 2 turns of action, which is what you normally get. And that's part of my problem here. So he was... I don't know where he started. But we can fiddle things around and get a better result based on all of this. Because I could have had any orders I liked. Where was he set up? Cordoba was set up anywhere in Terra Di Bari and Terra d'Otranto, which means I think I was set up right here, which to me means I had a maneuver order. Paredes obviously had an attack order, so I'm good with him. Pinheiro, I think also had one, so I think I'm right with these. So now Cordoba is going to want an attack order. That's going to cost him 3. And again, we won't be going into this much detail later. And I didn't break off my leaders who could go around, grab barons, and move them around without using up. Like, part of the problem with the barons now is I can't move all of them. But on the other hand, I kind of don't want to move this guy because he's protecting the only port up here. The Spaniards could land here and cause all kind of havoc. So I want to have that garrisoned. You know, that's fine. And of course, if I had been thinking more carefully, they could have sailed straight up and landed here, which might have been a good move. As long as it's not their Gran Capitan. Because everybody else, they might not be able to get orders though. So, yeah, I don't know. All right. Yeah, this game has single Gran Capitans on each side right now. That can change. So Paredes is over here. He does not have a shit ton of troops. He may actually want to abandon them and become an unemployed leader. Well, we abandon one here, put Paredes on his own here, and leave this guy in maneuver. That way I don't need this at all. I don't know what I'm going to do with him, but I mean, they're more functional, but it costs me real points to use them, whereas barons can move around for free otherwise. So I don't know, it's kind of half and half. This guy needs to go into hold orders or push the attack. Did he win? Oh, he won. He doesn't need to go into hold orders. We will put him in maneuver orders. That'll cost 1. And this guy's just a problem. I'm going to drop him into hold orders and realize they have initiative 0 now. They still roll a die to see whether, how many movement points they get and what order they're in. But before, because I was reading these as -0 or +0 or whatever, as a modifier of 0, like the retreat counters have a modifier of +1. The maneuver and attack ones have a conditional modifier, apparently. And I am not the only person, like the guy who commented had the same issue with the counters, and I think someone else, although it may be him, posted over on CSW about it. So yeah, just to clarify, I don't know if it's the same person. It didn't look like the same name, but I can't really recall. And again, somebody might not be using the same name on their YouTube as they use on CSW. Not really again, but yeah. So where the fuck's Prospero? Is this him? This is him, right? No, this is Paredes. I fucking got confused as to who's where. He should have a prior attack on him. Actually, here's the situation. Paredes is not the one who was here. It's Prospero who was here. Paredes had these, and I do want to pay for him, I think, because he can pick up this other one too, which to make that possible, we need to do this. And then we need to do a quick count to make sure. I don't have many that are loose. Prospero is down here at Toronto. I want to pay for him as well. I was trying to avoid paying for someone. But Paredes is if this is Paredes, is in a position where he can threaten stuff to the north that doesn't really impact me. So I think we do that. And again, I've got the face up, I've got the facing this way for those with maneuver markers. I could just put the markers on them. There are enough now. I've gotten so used to this, and I really don't like the idea of like having to deal with quarters when it comes down to it. I don't know. That's going to be a mess anyway. But, you know, I'd be fiddling around with a bunch of them to try to get them into, you know, to try to get them orders, even if they're just stand orders, so that they can build quarters or build earthworks so that they can be in quarters. And like, I don't know, they should just be able to chill out, man. Which baronials did maximum movement? Let's get these guys on top of their earthworks. And this is kind of weird because I can't really protect this area very easily. I'm hoping, I don't know, that Alegre can kind of do something about that. But I moved the maximum number of my baronials for the French. Which means they wouldn't be building earthworks if I decide to change my mind about that. Whereas the Spaniards are trying to, you know, shift a defense here, shift a defense. This actually isn't even shifting. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know quite what to do, you know? It's like, ugh. I also, unlike in the last scenario, don't have setup instructions that allow me to know what I'm facing. So to be fair, we should have things kind of like that, but I'm not too worried about it. But I got to keep in mind that I don't know the leader I'm facing and I don't know the troops he has until we start, you know, engaging. All right, that's going to put us to the leader activations, and I need to swap batteries. I do want to point something out, an impression I have, like the Zucker operational games. There's a feeling of clunkiness to these. That leaves me with kind of I respect the game more than I like it. Now, I do like the game. Don't get me wrong. It just feels, I don't know if it's that it's a different type of system. Like, I mean, you'd think I'd be used to the Zucker ones enough that they would, at least. This one has some significant differences from those. But they at least would feel kind of comfortable to me. It doesn't help, though, that each fucking one of them has rules that are completely, like, you know, written differently, in a different style, whatever, in a lot of ways. I think the ones being printed by OSG nowadays probably have rectified that. But, you know, in the old days, like 1809 was different from the, oh, what the fuck, the one that I like, Napoleon at Bay, the one that I really like, and Struggle of Nations had different size hexes and different things and all kind of different stuff going on in it. And it was like they hadn't really, Zucker hadn't settled down on what his scale was and whatever was going to go on. And I think everything kind of has fallen into the Napoleon at Bay model with a lot of complexity thrown on. But like, there were weird little differences in the other, in the ones that I'm most used to. But even when I'm familiar with the games, they feel kind of clunky. And that translates over to these guys. Anyway, let's start doing initiatives. All right. The Spaniards managed to run the table on the French and force them all to go. Got a little bit of movement over here. Oh, I forgot this guy. Do I want him in command of a unit? He's a little bit better. I don't know. He can't gather 2 units where he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess. At least here he can like gather a couple of different barons and make something effective. Here he can't, because I need this one here and there's no one else up there. Okay, so the French moved forward here, remembering to put the conquer markers. Namur moved into place and got himself some earthworks. Didn't get a good roll, but he was awfully close in terms of movement points. And Albini is down here. Has not started a siege. He could assault if he wanted to. We'll think about that. He's got good quality troops, which might mean that he wants to. However, he is sitting in mountains, which is sure to be affecting terrain. And it also halves the cav, which means my total strength would be lower, but I'm not too worried about my total strength. I've got enough total strength. I managed to do something horrible. I have lost Prospero Colonna. He is not under there, which is I think where he belongs. Paredes is here. Where the fuck is Prospero? Pinheiro is over here. I don't know what I did with him. Like I must have eaten him or something. Did I stick him under here? That's what happened. Okay. What are we doing? See, I'm confused. Yeah, this should be with Paredes. Here, he only had a couple of strength points with him. All right, and so we managed to move where we can pick this up. That's with Paredes. He gets his 3rd unit. Colonna has moved forward. I don't know if that absorption happens right now. Here we're going to have a battle hex C, I'm going to call it. And that will be Albini attacking a baronial. Up here nothing happens. Up here is battle A, which is going to be Namur's force. He has his earthworks, so he could start a siege if he wishes to. Yeah. And Cordoba will be here at B, where he also can start a siege if he wishes to, which he definitely does because he's got artillery, which is cool. All right. I can choose them in any order I like. Let's think about this. I think the first player gets to choose. It really doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference. Namor is in a position, he could begin an assault. He's got artillery, yeah, he's going to lay siege, and he's going to fire his cannons. Okay, so I have siege artillery, which I have to look up. I can't see it on here. Siege artillery means that I'm more likely to create a breach, but I'm also wondering if it had if it has a die roll like the engineers do. I seem to think it does. Special military units. Here we go. Siege artillery. Okay, so this is different from the field engineers. The field engineers give you a couple extra cannons, and you don't need any to get them. Siege artillery, you have to have at least one artillery SP. And its effects are, yeah, okay. So it does not cause. The engineers happens in both directions is the issue. So I actually have a shit ton of artillery, 4 of them with Namor. I don't have a 4-point gun. That means it's eating up 2 of his command slots. 4 artillery. Just making sure I don't have a river, because I always forget to check that. Siege ability special feature. I do not have an S on my card. Is it a fortified city? It is not. It's just a fortress. We should have a siege status level of 0 here, because we just put it. And let's roll. We get a 5. That's a DCB. Okay. Target enemy units have to make a discipline check. They have a discipline of 1, I believe. So some of these guys have a 0. So a discipline of 1. I think this is a troop quality discipline check. I really hate there's 2 different, like, I like that there's 2 different things for it. They don't seem to really work in the ways that I would expect them to necessarily. But what I have to do, I have to see what kind of discipline check do I make, right? Is this a normal battle discipline check? I'm assuming so. Which one is made during battle? Over here, it's troop quality. Okay. So we were troop quality 1. We roll a die. Do we have any modifiers? I don't think so. We get a 1. That's a pass. That's good. So we hold up. This goes up 1. We have created a breach. That means I'm allowed to do a siege breach fight. And I think I want to do that. We take a look at the terrain. It is going to be affecting terrain. Cavalry is halved. Well, let's look at that other terrain. The other terrain I think is wooded hill. Fuck. Okay. Cav on both sides. Heavy cav on both sides is halved. All cav is halved. Okay. It's not cumulative. All right. So that means I have 4 6.5 strength points to 1. That gives me the 4 to 1, which is a +2. I'm not disrupted because I didn't try to storm the castle. I'm doing an in-breach siege, an in-breach attack. My quality, I don't think I get to count these. Not sure. Non-artillery units can attack, yeah. So I have more 3s than I have 1s, so I'll make my quality 3. Which means that I'm at +2 in affecting terrain. This is the chart I'm on. I have a +2 to the die roll from 4 to 1 or more. Bayard's not involved. Oh, it would make a difference. So we roll a 2 is a 4. That's going to be a hit. We end up taking this. Citra, or Chitra. And we have been successful. Now I think we get a, no, it wasn't a major battle. Okay. So Namur has successfully taken this location. I don't know what, I'm going to put these here. And, yeah, I'm going in way too much detail, am I not? All right. Let's do the other siege at the same time. Ah, fuck. What the hell? Yeah, Namur was A. Okay. All right. So B is here, Roca Imperial. All right. We are also in a position where we can launch a siege. So we'll do so because we have cannons as well. Like this. We take a look. We only have 3 cannons. We have siege artillery. We have siege engineers if I want to use them. That's major battle. No effects there. See, if I use the engineers, I have a 1 in 6 chance of just losing them. But they add 2 to my firepower. I have a star, but no S. If I gave things to Navarro before I went in here, I would have an advantage. What advantage do I have? Let's take a look at S, because I could have repositioned my forces so that Navarro is in charge of the siege action, siege factor here. So we're going to just take a look. During siege combat, if a Capitano is in the firing force when executing, he adds 1 to the artillery fire. Yeah, I'm going to give him the guns only and make him actually a subordinate commander. This would have had to happen earlier in the turn. I still have 5 units subordinated to me. And he also has an A. What is A? Artillery ability. Oh. He can assault. They say this is also true for major battles. It doesn't say for sieges, but I assume both. Okay. So, let's give him the siege artillery and the engineers as well, because it only makes sense. All right, so he has should he have 3 guns? Fuck. It says 3 on the counter, but I think he only started with 2 actually. Let's see. Nope, he has 3. I just moved it to the wrong place. Okay, so he has 3 guns. He could throw the siege artillery, the engineers in, which we look for in special units. Engineers, engineers, engineers. The besieged force has field engineers. It may try to lower the siege status level. At the end of an activation, I roll a die on a 5 or 6. No, that's the defender. If the besieging player has field engineers, he can use them to improve artillery fire. On a 5 or 6, I get 2 extra SPs, but on a 1, I lose them. Like, they're useful. I don't think I'm in that much of a hurry. So I'm not going to throw them in because I have Navarro here who has 3 guns, and that would pump up to a 5. I mean, it's good. 3 guns. He has a +1 for the Capitano. It's not a fortified city. Note that I did not take this. I took this, though. Oh, I own this province, don't I? Yeah. The control in this, it's just so hard for me. It really is. All right, so I'm on 3 at +1. They cannot have earthworks, no matter what. So I roll a 6. That's going to be a DC without a breach, which means we look for the discipline table, and we look for the unit. The unit has a quality of 1. The enemy having a bonus star doesn't affect it. We roll a 2, which is a pass. We did not get a breach, so we don't up the level of the siege. See, I'm not sure if I should be leaving the siege, the battle marker, on the table or not. That's my problem. Anyway, we're not allowed to storm the castle now because we attempted the firing. And we go to the 3rd battle, put this here, which is Albini, who's over here in the mountains. Now, he could storm. This is going to be affecting terrain, even though it's not a major. We would be disordered, which drops our quality to a 2. This is quality 0, however. So we would be at +2 on affecting, and we'd have +2 to the die roll, which means anything but a 1 is going to succeed, but we might have to take a hit. Right? The fact that this is brown and this is brown is really confusing to me. Why is it brown? So +2 on the die roll. Do I want to do it or not? There's a couple of die rolls that are going to cost, like I have a 50-50 chance of losing a man. Whereas I have no chance of losing anyone if I just try to starve it out. Oh, I can't starve it out. Where's Albini? He's here. How important is it for me to get him moving, onward? This isn't even a defensible location, except for it's behind the river and in the mountains, but yeah. But it's not an important location to own, which is what's key. I don't know if I'm in a hurry or not. I guess if I don't know, I'm not in much of a hurry. So we'll just stay there. Now, the fact that we're in the same hex here, actually just here, means that there is an attrition roll, but there's no chance of it having any impact. The fact that people are in enemy terrain would mean, well, it actually might for Albini because he's got a lot of troops. Not that many. He has 9. Okay, so Albini's fine. Namur might have too many. Namur has a chance of losing units. He is in earthworks, but the earth, that's over here, the earthworks actually don't matter. And the reason he's got to check is he's in hostile terrain. This is not good. So he's on the 10 to 14 table, which means on a 5 or a 6, he takes a hit. Okay, he saves himself. Coming over here, Cordoba has 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Just keeps me on this good table. There's a modifier, the leader bonus for the bonus star, which gives him a -1, which means he only hits on a 6. And a 6 is what the enemy will die on as well. Okay, so the French die out here, and we end up taking this. Puts that like that. The siege goes away. I should have a siege marker kicking around. There we go. All right. So at the end of attrition, are there any other large forces kicking around? Just to make sure. Yeah, okay. I don't think anybody else is in hostile territory either. So that's this turn. That took way too much time. And, yeah. I don't think I want to go into that much detail normally. Okay. So that'll put us in the 2nd July turn. But again, I'm kind of getting used to the game, so it feels like the fact that I don't know what I'm doing again, right, means that I feel like I should be explaining more for whatever reason there is to that. Once I know what I'm doing, I'm just like into giving the narrative, but I took time off and I'm like, ooh. 2nd turn of July. Unfortunately today, I woke up, it was already getting dark out. I mean, okay. Not exactly. I woke up at like 11 a.m. after maybe 3.5, 4 hours of sleep. Stayed up for less than an hour. Then went back to sleep, and it was like 6. And there was a little light in the sky, so I got my garbage down. I'm playing way too much Raid. There's a lot of demand from that. And then, you know, I also end up playing this other stupid gotcha game as well. Anyway, let's do the weather. But my sleep schedule is more out of whack than it usually is. We're going to get fair weather again. Not getting any heat in July. This is a normal turn, which means we don't have to worry about this stuff. Okay, there were no sheep yet. We could move our supply source, but we do have to worry about transferring forces, and we could issue new orders if desired, which might be the case in a couple of places. So where I succeeded in a siege, say, like here, I might not want to, continue whatever attack orders I'm under. And that way I get to get rid of the previous attack marker. which is somewhat helpful. I actually don't think I will be wanting to attack. I have to worry, though, about Cordoba coming down here. He's relatively strong. I don't know exactly how strong, but that could be almost the entirety of the Spanish force, which I could take a quick look at and see what that is. It is, in fact, almost entirely. He's got 5 more strength points here, which I may know about. Colonna did a siege, so I have a fair idea there. This is the thing. As soon as you do anything, the leaders are revealed, basically. You know, so the hidden leaders, it's a little bit of chrome at the beginning of the scenario that might create a little bit of uncertainty. But so we're looking at 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 strength points, maybe max. I am not that big. So I don't want to deal with him. And I may need to bring my forces together, which means Albini here has to make his way down. Interesting. Not having the heat here in July is kind of a big deal because people are making attacks that are in positions that otherwise would be generating attrition rolls. Allegre switches to attack. That cost me a point because he wants to take this. Once I take that, I don't think I have the whole area, do I? Yeah, I do. That's a city. But I got to starve it out, which is not trivial. Albini switches to a stand order, getting rid of his attack so that he can build entrenchments and siege. Namur switches to a garrison order. I'm afraid of Cordoba. I have additional troops coming up. I have some others that are moving. This guy I forgot to move last time. Oh well, terrible. But yeah, I have additional forces moving through. So for example, here I'm trying to capture nothing. I'm trying to capture this, I guess, over in Capitanata. Get control of more areas. Allegre I already talked about was on attack, right? La Police is still kind of wandering around on his own, looking for troops. Over on the Spanish side, I converted Cordoba to a maneuver order. I don't really see keeping him in attack and picking up a previous attack. I've got a lot of ground to cover. I might be able to cover it, but Navarro is under him. Colonna is unemployed with him. Paredes is up here, trying to put a challenge on any advances up here. If Albini heads that way, that gives me the preponderance of force against Namur, presumably. So, you know, however, Prospero Colonna is just continuing his movement as well, perhaps to reinforce Cordoba with a couple of barons. Piñero is still in garrison and going to try to... he's just going to wait, I guess. I got an ugly river crossing, but whatever. It's not going to make much difference if he stays in the fort when I actually do move into there. I have an activation on there, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I got some troops that I'm moving, but I don't know that I necessarily... Do I want to move this guy? He's kind of holding grounds for me. This guy is maybe available. Let's get him moving. I don't think I'm going to lose that. Others, Paredes is full up, or no, Colonna. Wait. Okay, he's got 2, yeah. As long as he's got a decent sized force, I would like to bring him to bear one way or another, but I don't know. Paredes doesn't have much. This I could send this down. And again, assume those are maneuvers if they're like that, and that they're garrisons or stands if they're in the other direction. I just don't want to deal with orders on the board. Okay. Gets us to our activation. Just realized the orders that I have on the leaders I've been dealing with properly now. I'm not sure I have been with the baronials in the last turn. Try to get used to that maneuver is not -1 to your initiative. Little things in the system that are, different from most war games. For example, having to pay extra for the bridges and everything, which I don't know if they're particularly, I don't know. It just makes counting the movement a little bit harder than we're used to, right? So I've got like these extra half movement points and stuff here, there, and everywhere. And it's just kind of, it's part of that. This feels like a more cumbersome system. And the Zucker games in general also have that in ways that just like are kind of odd. Like those kind of little things get in my way of being able to play easily. In the same vein, this is part of what makes me forget about Road March, because I have to pay an extra movement point to convert into it. So it's like that extra step makes me forget. I finally used it with this guy. This guy probably should have used it. Another little tricky thing is when you're moving along the road, you pay a full movement point when entering into a fortified city. And I've been kind of doing that with all fortresses, which I know, that's what I went to go look up, knowing it was wrong. And then I thought, wait a minute, what about Road March? And I'm just like, it's just in the same sort of way. I'm not gonna point this out as a problem with the Zuckers, because I don't remember any having this many finicky little movement rules. This is the same sort of movement rules that get in my that get in my craw with things like the Bataille series or Battles of the Age of Reason, where movement's not a simple thing, and it's just not following my preconceived notions. So I'm like paying all kind of little extra costs and having to look up all kind of extra little things. And it just gets in my way of enjoying and playing the game easily, right? It probably is more realistic. But when you start getting into that burden on simple things like movement, it does get in, like, it does start to really hinder my ability to play comfortably. The activation markers are where I've moved everywhere. Forces shifting down. This guy came over from here. This is one of the annoying things. I don't want to have two counters, Baron and a control marker in the same space. Control markers are something I run out of. So, I move out of a space and I gotta put a control marker, and I move into a space and I gotta take a control marker out. Shit like that just gets in the way and makes things kind of clunkier than I want them to be. And that's my biggest objection, honestly, to the system, is that it's clunky. It's clunky. The Zucker games are clunky, and add to that this kind of, the movement and everything is kind of more painful. So I like that the movement's on a die roll for this based on the initiative. The Zucker games have you spend a certain amount of movement points, and if you spend more than a certain amount, you take an attrition result. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think being able to push your troops is actually a good idea. And I'm not asking to add more clunkiness to combine the two, but there's a certain level of, I don't know, both systems have kind of I have to figure out, you know, in this one it's a counting game that becomes difficult. In the Zucker games, it's more of an inhibition on movement, right? I do kind of think that it would make sense to get yourself a die roll modifier. In some cases, that would. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here. It feels like when units are too active, even under a good commander, they probably should be paying some attrition risk. In which case, of course, I wouldn't do it because I almost never am willing to expend troops for movement capability. But I think that would be a little bit more realistic. But again, it would add another layer of clunkiness to this, a little bit more problematic. All right, so on to the leader initiative roles, and I'm done with raid. I was letting play by itself. We'll finish up this turn. I'll go back down. I feel like a slave to, the computer games that I've started playing. And I don't know how to break out of it, but I also, when I don't have my day fully filled with them, it's problematic too, because the pain gets too high. I never really understood the attraction of things like heroin, right? This idea of just when I was on morphine in the hospital, I was like, get me off this shit right away, But I guess that's because physical pain doesn't really bother, but I mean, people use morphine for emotional pain as well. It's still hard for me to, I don't think I could make that trade. I feel like my brain is still there. It's just the pain is gone because of the busyness that the game provides. And work did the same sort of thing, where as soon as I was out of work, I would be hit with the wave of it. Here's again, run the table on the French. Allegre has made it into here without being able to build his entrenchments. Didn't get a good roll. Cordoba beat him up on it. Built the entrenchments here. This is just on a hold. And my other leader, La Police, did not quite make it to these. I should have counted. But I'm not actually sure that I want that, because I think I'd have to pay for orders or something for him. Next turn I would definitely have to pay for orders. And La Police isn't that much better initiative. He's a 3, this is a 2. Might as well just follow him up and remain, an unemployed leader wandering around. But I am hoping to bring some reinforcements in to Namur. My hope is also to bring Albini down there, face Cordoba with everything I've got, rather than try to fight on multiple fronts. If Cordoba is weak, if Cordoba is strong, I will need it to face him. I will need everything I have. If Cordoba is relatively weak, this still gives me a big advantage. So I think I'm just not that much at risk at losing a lot of shit. Is there an auto victory in this? Yeah, you wipe the other guy off the map. I don't think that's going to happen. So, since most of the game is left, although it's not that long a game, is it? Yeah, it's got another whole year in between. Okay, it's a three-year game. Since another you know what's interesting? The one scenario, the ahistorical one, the Crusade, is not actually on there. Now that's 1495-96. It might fit into the Ferrandino's War. I kind of wish it were written on there as well. if it was, it covers those 2 years. So yeah, it should be fine. But anyway, uh, I've got enough time that I think I can regain whatever I lose to a weak force. Reinforcement wise, the Spaniards are due to get a fair amount of reinforcements. That's all the more reason to beat up Cordoba as fast as I can. Okay, well, all the Spaniards get to go now. So after the French passed, and they wouldn't have to, right? I could try, and multiple move some of these units. Well, Paredes made it all the way over to here, putting a threat in Principato Ultra, which may mean that La Police has to gather up forces to face him, or at least send a baronial up there. It is getting kind of like the decision to bypass Canossa? No, Venosa. We've run into Canossa. It's in the south somewhere, but I don't really remember where. By pushing this way, I'm, threatening things here. Principato Ultra only takes 3 to control it. So this is 2 of those 3. There's a third one down here. There's this. So there's actually just taking these 2 would convert it over. That would be a major blow to the French, to be honest. I flipped this over because he was in hold. This one should be 2 because he couldn't have gotten 2 actions. Just as kind of a let's make some sense out of what's going on. Colonna is running up towards Cordoba. While there's a baronial here, I don't feel like I'm in that much of a threat because I know I have most of Cordoba's force up here. I don't know how much Namur has of the French force, but I'm not going to rush and take an attrition check. Although without the heat, well, yeah, but it's +1 per movement point that you make extra. And that's where the attrition really comes in, is do you want to force your units? Yeah, you can. It's on that second move. And that actually works really well. That actually does everything that I think I want it to happen. So what I was thinking was, if I move, and I want to move quickly, pushing my forces faster than the commander would want to move, a slower commander would actually impact that somewhat. Well, a slower commander is more likely, like a low initiative commander, is more likely not to make it as far as you need them to go, which means you'll be perhaps more tempted to roll again, but they're also not likely to make it very far on their forced march either. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So in some ways, the slower commanders are also kept slower by the fact that, you're not going to get as much off their forced march if you choose to do that. I should have just one battle in place, which is this one. I don't think there are any others. So we will resolve that. I need to swap batteries, I guess. Moving the little action markers, I noticed there's a second battle. Oh, is this? No, this is Campobasso. There's a second potential battle. It's not going to be a real one, though. He does not have enough forces to justify storming the castle. He's only got 4 strength points. That's going to be just a +1 on there. And his forces are crappy quality, too. Just a 1 quality unit storming would drop them to 0. They would be really at bad odds. So starving them out is the only real option there. I may leave these battle markers on the board. I don't know if I want to use that for these. He's actually an interesting choice. I spent for the earthworks. No big deal. It doesn't really cost me anything. He's got quality 3 units there. And enough that he gets that 4-to-1 bonus. He would be in affecting terrain, but he's facing quality 0 units, which means, looking quickly at the combat table, because attrition's not likely to do me anything here. So 1 and 6. The combat table will be affecting at +2, and I'll be at +2 on the die roll. I think I am going to attack there. Let's see what we get. I'm a pretty decent commander, actually. That's not good. I take a loss. Now, that doesn't come with a D, so I don't have to check anything, right? That's how I've been doing it, but... D is disruption. When do you make a morale check? This may be... Like, I thought D was going to be demoralize. Is this right? Because what I thought happened was you take hits and you take demoralizations off this table. And that's not what the table seems to indicate. I think this is just the effect of disruption. Yeah, because these other things are all reductions in quality. And I've already got the disruption for the attack. That's going to get recovered. Let me just see. Common combat procedures. All this stuff. How to the number, at least half the SPs to determine, distribute losses and strength points throughout in a major battle. Combat units are decided. Demoralization. A demoralization result may also be applied to a combat unit not belonging to the quality group to determine the quality of the force. Yeah. I think these are demoralization results. Oh, yeah, here we go. One unit is automatically demoralized. Yeah, okay. So I take a hit. I guess I'll take it off my Swiss infantry. Actually, my strength was weaker than I thought because I'm halved because of the mountains. So this was only 2.5, 6.5. I still think I want to keep the cav rather than take the hits on that. But I don't have to make any kind of quality check for taking a hit, do I? I lost the battle. Does that require anything? Like somebody keeps telling me about, oh, and then you'd have to make a quality check. The guy who knows the game, and I may be missing something. This is what he's referring to. The loser takes a discipline check after the battle, which this is during combat, so I'd follow troop quality. Troop quality is only a 2 here because I did the storming. This is what he was talking about, and I don't know if I... And I get a big 5, which is a fail. This is for every unit. The affected combat unit has more than 2 SPs, it loses a strength point. Ouch! Okay, storming the castle is dangerous. And I think that's what he was trying to point out. He kept pointing out, you got a lucky roll because this. You got a lucky roll because this. And I don't think I've faced this situation before. I don't think I've played it incorrectly, but I certainly wasn't as aware of just how dangerously I was playing with fire, with losing combats. Because, yeah, the entire force has to make a discipline check when it loses. Ouch. And I did lose. That's what the brown means. I don't like the brown at all. It confuses me. But I guess it, indicates who lost the battle. And there we got reverse in loss. Must make a it's right there on the fucking chart. Yeah, I was not aware of what he was trying to tell me, which was basically you really shouldn't be storming these castles. Oh, well. I am in a bit of a hurry, and in every scenario I am. So I'm not sure that it's wrong to do this, but ouch. Serious ouchies. Wow. Okay. So now Albini would be down to 2, and 2 is 4. He'd still be able to storm the castle with that big +2. But it is a risky, risky proposition. All right, let me do the attritions, and then we'll finish up the turn. I'll load this up. These guys, although there was a possibility of battle, and they're sharing a hex, they're subject to attrition, but nobody's got any penalties, so it's just fine. Being in unpleasant terrain, as long as you're not in a swamp, which is this really nasty looking stuff. I don't know which one it is. I'd have to look it up. But I try to stay out of it. It looks icky. That gives a penalty no matter what on the attrition table. If I recall correctly. No, swamp is just barren. Contested gives a +1 if the enemy has more forces there, which is a really unlikely situation because you have, well, there's like a forced consolidation type situation. I don't know. But besieged is potentially a problem with a +2 if you don't have a line of communications. So, do we have a siege anywhere? I don't believe so, because this is our... Oh, this is a siege. Yeah. Now, does he have a line of communications? He does, going back here. So he has a chance on a 6 to die, and that's it. Does not happen. So Albini doesn't get lucky, even though after being defeated. And that should put us to the end. We do have a... let's get this shit out of here. Clumsy. We do have an extra unit here with Namor. And he has room for it, so I don't have to assign things to Bayard, although I probably should be soon because I got more troops coming up and everything. And Bayard has to be given Cav, which means he'll probably be given everything except the artillery. And then I'll keep the artillery as like... Although I may keep a garrison with the artillery. See, the artillery gets an advantage on defense if it's fighting alone. That's kind of a weird situation because it gets to count its strength in that case. Otherwise, it only gets to count the strength of what's defending it, which, yeah. All right, so that's where we are after the 2nd July turn. We've done a month and a half. I'm going to load this up, and that's about it.